Alright, hello and welcome. This last video here looks like, until we add more to the list, is the state interim process. So it seems you're ready to make a state interim. So a few things to know here. So here is the state interim process in this PowerPoint. So first we need to create the initial draft of the state interim. And before you can start under evaluation, you have to get that approved by the ADM and the national team, the national discipline leads. So let's go through this process together, and we'll keep referring back to this workflow as we go. So as the SDL in Quark, we'll go to the CPS management window here, and at the middle top here in these green buttons we have a create new state interim. So we're going to choose Delaware for this one, and for interim we are going to do what's a good interim? We'll do Redwood Treehouse. Alright, and we will hit new interim standard. Alright, so after that we will go back to our workspace screen. We are going to refresh the collections here. We're going to come down back to Delaware, and we'll see our new interim standard Redwood Treehouse. From here we're going to check the document out, and we can begin editing it. Let me grab some, so we can copy and paste, or you guys obviously wouldn't copy and paste, but I'm going to copy and paste some of this stuff here. So oops, we can just fill out, you basically just fill out the standard, and this is the time you're going to be authoring the standard to whatever you want to, and this could take as long as you need to author the standard. And then once you're done here, just finishing up Redwood, and we don't know the year yet because we don't know when it's going to get approved. So we'll do save and close, and we have initial draft, and we actually can't route it on, so it's just going to go to no one. You can route it to yourself if you want it to be in your assignments for easy access, and you can route it to the state technical lead if they need to do some authoring on it too. If I go to metadata and checklist, right, I can't give it a practice code yet because it needs to be approved, and I can go to units and give it whatever units it needs, and I can give it a lifespan. We'll just say for 3 years here, and you can give it a display name, but you're probably going to wait until you get the practice code for that. You can add your keywords now if you like, and we're going to go ahead and hit save. Alright, so now we have the draft done, but as you saw, we couldn't go to under evaluation yet until it gets approved, right? So this is checked, we have this done. So now we need to make our interim request letter. So we're going to go under the new drop down menu here, and we're going to choose interim request letter. And then in here we can fill it out as needed, right? So you can put your name in, which position you have, and you can put in the date that you submitted it. So just any information you want to give, and then you need to fill in the request here. So why do we need this, or justification here, and then your evaluation process, and then these last two sections, or this section, is for the um, national headquarters to respond with, who they're going to assign for your national discipline lead, or maybe if they rejected it, they would say that here. And then if you have any additional requirements, you can put them here at the bottom. Like let's say you had a very specific, like a PDF that helps this document, you could upload that PDF to Quark and just tell them here to look at it, and they can view that PDF in Quark. Alright, so after you've done this, you can go ahead and go to save and close. And we're going to send this over to ADM review, and that will get routed to the ADMs. And you definitely want to make sure that we're routing it to the ADMs. That way they get an email notification and it appears in their assignments. If you route it to no one, we're not going to be guaranteed that they're going to see it. So always make sure you can route it to them to trigger the email notification, and so it appears in their assignment so they act on it. If I go to metadata and checklists, right, I'm going to fill it in for my content here, so I can just copy and paste. That way I don't have to type everything out. And everything else is for the ADM or the NDL to figure out, so I cannot edit any of this. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Alright, so then that triggered an email to the ADMs, and that is here. So new document has been created assigned to you, so we have the request letter here. So if I switch to the ADM, it looks like I got signed out, so let me sign back in. So if I go to my assignments as the ADM, I now have at the top of my list here this request letter. So as the ADM, I'm going to check this out. And let's take a look back at our workflow real quick, right? So as the SDL or STL, you created this request letter draft, and now you have routed to the ADM. So this is now just kind of an inside look on what the ADM process looks like. So the ADM is going to check out your document, take a look at it, read it over, and then he's going to talk with this national team on who that NDL is going to be, and that's done outside of Quark. And then inside of Quark, we're going to go to save and close, and the ADM can route it to NDL for review. And again, so for this step, it's going to go to no one. And the reason it's going to go from no one is because we want to use this lead discipline as the trigger for what group to get sent to. So the route to, we don't know which NDL he's going to pick yet, so that is done here. So I'm going to choose forestry because it's about redwoods and tree houses, and I'll choose a person. I don't actually know who this person is, so I'm just going to pick a random person there. And then I'm going to hit save. So that will get sent, so it leaves the ADM queue, and then the forestry or the whoever NDL you get, you will then see a you got a Delaware, and then here's the interim standard, and then please review it by, and I believe it gives them almost about 2 full weeks they get to review it. Alright, let me log in as an NDL. I think I'm just gonna use just a quick jump here. So give me 1 second to get an NDL and to route that document back. So the NDL is going to then review the case, and the NDL is going to really say if he likes it or not. In this case, we're going to say, so the NDL is going to fill out the document and then route it back to the ADM if he approves it or not. So let me check this out. So if I bring it back over here, so they will fill out all of this information. You can fill all that out. We can be, looks good. Please start. Reminder, need annual reports for interim standards. Okay. And so they would fill it out, and then the NDL says it looks good. So they're going to go to save and close, and then they're going to route it back to ADM review. That will head back over to the ADMs. So now we are back to here. As you saw here, it now is appearing in the ADM assignments. The ADM got an email that the request has been reviewed for Delaware for standard name. So now the ADM can review the NDL, the NDL's response, and they can either choose to reject it or to approve it now. So for the sake of this, we are going to accept it. If it gets rejected, the state will get an email saying it was rejected, and then if we get it approved, they get an email saying it's approved. So again, we'll route it back to the state discipline leads for Delaware, and then we must give it a practice code. So for this one, we're going to give it, let's give it 852, and we're going to hit save. So if I switch back over, I wasn't quick enough so you could see it, but we now have 852 Delaware, and it's now under evaluation. You now get 2 notifications at the state level. You get that 852 has been approved, and this is the evaluation start date, and then you get an email saying who your NDL is for it, and your practice code again. So you get 2 notifications there at the start of an interim standard. Okay, now at this point, let's go back to here, right? So we've done approved, and now we are under evaluation. So I didn't do this at the ADM step, right? So as a state user, you're not allowed to change the purpose statement. You're not allowed to edit the definition components. So in order to transfer this interim to CPDES, the ADM has to componentize the definition and purpose statements for you. So as a state user, I'm going to check this out, and I can make a purpose component, right? So these sections have to be componentized in order to be sent to CPDES. So I'm going to save that. Now when I go to definition and I try to create a component, I can't. The save button's grayed out, right? I'm not allowed to do it. So that is the ADM is supposed to, when they approve it, to componentize that definition section for you. If they don't, this is a reminder that they have to do it before you can send it to them. And you also need to give it a standard effective date. So this is different than the date the evaluation started, so you can choose when you want the standard effective date to start. So let's choose September 1st, and we'll do save. And then I'm going to switch back over to the ADM real quick because I need to make that component for you. And if I go to Delaware, and I will go to the standard, check it out. And I will create the component, and I will make a 852 definition for the interim, and I'll go ahead and save it. Okay, and now it's been saved. So let me switch back to the state user. So now we are here. So once it's under evaluation, right, we want that document to be on CPDES, and we want that document to be on ePhotoc. So I will go to my CPS management button here, and I'll just do step 1 of 6, which we will do Delaware, and we'll do 852, and I'll do send data. I'm going to get an error message for this because I don't think that A52 is actually in CPDES. So I'm going to send data, and then yeah. So I got an error message, and again, this is a good point, is that the ADM before they go to approve, is the ADM needs to send the update, in CPDES has to make this code number. If the code number doesn't exist in CPDES, then the state user, you're going to see this error message that the active national practice is not found for E52. Okay. If you ever have any questions about this, you can contact your ADM or you can contact us at ECM Support for assistance, and we can help you through this issue. But this is because the ADM did not create that in CPDES. Okay. So if we assume that that was correct, right? So as the ADM, if I had access to that, I could have created it, and then that would have been successful. I also then want to come and send this document to FileNet. And I also want to update my metadata in NRT, which I probably am also going to get a failure for, again, because that code number does not exist in CPDES. But those would be, you'd still want to do those, right? And if you've got that error, you got to tell the ADM. The ADM would then create the code, and then once he's finished with that, then you could actually do those steps. Okay, all right, so we now have an interim standard under evaluation. Let's just recap one more time. So first we created the interim standard draft here, but before we could go to under evaluation, we had to make that interim request letter. We sent that interim request letter to the ADM, who got that email notification. He then chose to talk to the national team to figure out which NDL to assign it to. He assigns it to forestry. The NDL for forestry reviews it. He has 2 weeks to do so, and then routes it back to the ADM with his approval. If the ADM is going to approve it, he has to make a code in CPDES. Once he has done that, he can approve it, which will then trigger the standard to go to under evaluation. Once it's under evaluation, he also needs to create the definition component and the purpose component for you as the SDL. Once you have the sections componentized and the standard under evaluation, you can update CPDES, and then you can transfer it to FileNet and then to NRT, which will update ePhotog, and then the interim standard will now be on the Photog site. And then you are welcome to use that interim standard. Now, with that, you have to submit annual reports for your interim. So every year you will get a notification saying when your annual reports are due. And we'll create a couple of these real quick. So for these annual reports, we have the yearly review one, right, which you can just route to the NDL and they can review to see how your progress is going. You can also use this report to request a time extension, which the NDL can approve or reject. If they approve it, then you see how this is yellow? That will affect the interim standard and will move it to the time extended status. Let's switch back over to the report. Then again, if you, after your 3 years or your time extended is up, you can recommend the interim for nationalization or not for nationalization if it didn't go well. And that's where you have that report here and here, so you can not recommend it or recommend it. And so if you submit it, and both of these will trigger also these status steps here for the workflow. So it'll either go to recommended or it'll stop right here and be not recommended. If you choose to recommend it for nationalization, that the NDL gets to approve it or reject it, and then in that case it also gets triggered to here if they do not approve it, then that's where it ends. And then if they do approve it, it goes to awaiting nationalization. And you can use that interim until it's been released at the national level. Maybe they include it into another standard, or they make a new standard altogether for it. So let's make some of these reports. If I go as the SDL, I'm here. I can go and make a new interim report. And in here we have just the generic report by default, and then I have sections for time extended and for recommendation. So I can add these sections in here, and the NHQ can give a response. So I think we did 852 Delaware, and then let's say this was 2019, our first report, and we needed a time extension, so we added that section in. I can go to save and close, and then here's my options. I can do initial draft, yearly review, request time extension, nationalization recommended, or not recommended. So this one we're doing time extension, and we're routing it to our NDL, and we want to fill in our metadata. So let's do Redwood Treehouse. I'm copying and pasting, and hit save. And then that gets routed off to the NDL, who got a notification for the interim report of a request time extension. As the NDL, I can check that out. I can review your request, and I can add, my information into my response section. When I go to save and close, I have the option to time extend or not time extend. So if I choose time extend, I can add however many years you can use it for. So I'm just going to give you one more year, and I will hit save. And then if we notice here that the now the standard has gone to time extended, and the report now shows time extended, and you would have gotten an email notification that your interim standard was approved for 1 year, and you again still need an annual report for that time. So let's make another annual report, right? So now we're at 2020. And we again could do 852. And now this time I'm ready to recommend it for nationalization. Again, it's optional for first and second year, but required for the third year if you're recommending it or not. I'll go to save and close. I'm going to choose nationalization recommended. It'll get sent to the NDL. Again, I need to fill in my metadata. So 852, and I'm going to copy and paste my Control C, Control V, my standard name, and hit save. And then now the NDL has gotten a notification that 852 was recommended for nationalization by Delaware. And that's important, right? If multiple states are using the same interim standard, this lets them know who recommended it for nationalization. And then there's more verbiage for the NDL to read. The NDL now can, let me grab the report real quick. Now if we go to our workflow, they can either choose to approve it or not approve it. So for the sake of this, they'll add their response here. We'll go save and close, and we are going to choose approved and do save and close. And if we watch here, it will go from approved, and then the standard is now awaiting nationalization. and we would have gotten an email notification that says the interim practice standard is currently with the NDL. It can be used until 1 year after the release of the national CPS, either created or modified as a result of your recommendation. So the interim process, very complicated, right? So this kind of went through the report process. You have these options on submitting a report to the NDL, and then the NDL gets to take action. Whether you recommend it for nationalization, they can approve or not approve it. You can request a time extension, all within the court documents. And then the result of those all affect the actual interim standard here for awaiting nationalization. And you can then, whenever you're ready to finalize it, you could add the end date to the document and then do update metadata in NRT. And then that would update it, remove it from ePhotog when you're ready to adopt the new national standard as a result of your interim standard. Okay, that is it for this video. I hope that helped, and see you guys in the next one. Thanks, bye.